Welcome back, Mavericks, to another term here at MSU Mankato. I'm your host, Sherwin Bethella, along with my co-host, Raj. And today we bring you a new series of the CyberAware podcast, COVID Normalized. Today we'll be giving you 5 tips on how to stay more cyber aware.
Yep, thank you, Sherwin, for sharing that. And the first tip we want to give you is about phishing emails. So the first thing is that in any type of phishing email, you need to check for the email address that the email is coming from, and if it does not have an @mnsu.edu at the end, then it is likely a suspicious email. The next thing is about grammatical errors on that email, and you can check that pretty easily. Also, do not share any personal or personally identifiable information when you're dealing with a suspicious email. Some of the examples of the phishing email that we've been getting are Zoom phishing. It's just a pretty vague link, and it leads you to a weird Zoom link, and it just asks you for your personal information. Another one is about financial scams that asks you to purchase gift cards and just ask for your personal information in general.
All right, and our next tip is regarding passwords. So always try to have a minimum of about 12 characters. Try to keep it with a combination of special characters, numbers, and letters. Use different passwords for different accounts. One of the ways that passwords get picked up in data breaches is mostly because users often use and circulate the same password for multiple accounts. So that's a good tactic to avoid, being in a password breach. Also, talking about passwords, usernames should be unique as well. So if you have the option of setting up a unique username, do that. An easy way to help you remember multiple passwords is to either use a passphrase, something as silly or simple as a dog walks into a bar with a lightsaber, 5545. Yep. And another great tool out there, digital tool that most of us should be using are password managers, such as Firefox, Lockwise. Google has its own password management solution. There's Dashlane, plenty of other options on the market that are free and pretty easy to use.
Yep. And moving on to the next tip is patching. Patching is a pretty simple settings that you can check in your computer to stay secure and updated. You can do a weekly check on your updates and security. That's going to be in your settings. And if you do that, then it's pretty easy to get all the latest patches and updates for your device to stay secure.
Yeah, and in the past on our different other topics and in the main CyberAware podcast series that we have mentioned on several occasions that patching is pretty relevant and very important. In fact, some of the main authorities that were brought onto our show have even argued that patching really helps remediate a lot of malware and is the true thing that really prevents malware from getting onto your system, as opposed to a lot of anti-malware scans or just antiviruses, because even for antiviruses, they need to be first detected on your system in order to really be picked up and detected.
Yep, and I think Windows Defender has that built-in capability of checking those viruses or detecting those viruses and then even removing them as well.
Correct. All right, so our next tip is protect your devices. So one of the many ways you can do that is by logging out of your device when you're not using it. And this is essential just to prevent stuff like shoulder surfing. Typically, and what shoulder surfing means is you're using your laptop, and then at some point another user just walks past someone who's trying to steal your information and just looks into your monitor. So you want to be aware of who is looking into your screen, and don't ever leave your laptop or your desktop unattended. Keep it in close proximity, and try to keep it under lock and key. Also, another great tip is try to connect to a secure Wi-Fi either on campus, or make sure that the Wi-Fi you have at home, the connection is pretty stable. We've mentioned this in the past. Uh, Try to stay away as much as possible from free Wi-Fi. I know it's very tempting, especially when you go, in that coffee shop. Hopefully, that's not as much with COVID, right? But stay away from that, because a lot of people get onto that network, and a lot of suspicious people too get onto that network at the same time, and they can really do a network scan, and really try to harvest important informations, and access your data and packets. So try to stay away from guest Wi-Fi or free Wi-Fi, and to make sure your Wi-Fi connection is pretty secure.
Yep, that's a great tip, Sherman. And the last thing for the 5 tips that we have is to check our CyberAware website. It's mnsu.edu/cyberaware. And for the next podcast topics that we have are about multi-factor authentication, remote desktop connection, and some more Zoom security tips. Thank you.